All right, it is time to go back and look at the month of October movies because I don't know if you guys realize this, but it was a box office failure for Hollywood this last month. So to talk a little bit about that and what's to come for the month of November, if it shall be saved, Sean Chandler from Sean Chandler Talks About from YouTube, of course, Instagram, X. You can find him in many locales. He's a movie reviewer for Rotten Tomatoes as well. Sean, thanks for joining us this morning. And let me just ask you, looking at the October box office, I was looking at this. It looks like since the pandemic, in fact, you go back to 1997, this is the worst box office Hollywood has had.
If you leave out 2020 because of COVID, because movies theaters weren't open. Otherwise, you have to go back to 1997. But that's not adjusted for inflation. So it's the worst ticket sales actually since like 1982, the early 80s, to find an October that was this bad. And there's just kind of a few things that happened. The movie that was supposed to be the big hit of the month was Tron, and it bombed. And so it literally lost money for Disney, quite a bit of money. And then there were just several other movies that just didn't get much traction. Black Phone 2 did decent, but it wasn't like a big splash or anything like that. It was a very light on horror movies for an October. And it's a month where there were supposed to be two other huge releases. Mortal Kombat 2 was supposed to come out this month,
Correct,
which would have brought in several $100 million additional dollars. But it got delayed till next year, as well as Michael, the Michael Jackson movie, was supposed to come out in October. And so it was a month that was just kind of like barren with so little coming out. And the movies that did come out didn't do all that great.
Let me bring that up because as we're talking right now, they just dropped the Michael Jackson biopic trailer. So we'll have to check that out a bit later. Do you think it's also because, though, I think Tron, I haven't seen it. Actually, I have my tickets for this weekend. I'm finally going to go see it. But do you think it's because just movies are just not as good story-wise, so people aren't encouraged to go see it? Do you think that's probably the reason?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the movies and you have an amazing experience and you watch a movie that you're just so pumped about it, then you want to experience that again. If you go to the movies and the movie's a letdown, you're disappointed, it's mediocre, everyone around you's talking on their phone and it's a bad experience, then you don't want to take the risk once again. And so, I mean, I do feel like just in particular big blockbusters, there's just a certain mediocrity to a lot of them. They're slick productions, but they kind of lack that spark a little bit that creates that urgency for a lot of them that you don't need to go rush out to go see them. You've got a great home system, and you'd rather not take the risk of buying 2 tickets for $40 plus popcorn for another $50. You'd rather play it a little safe and just stream it unless it's something you're really excited about, which October just didn't have that.
So November does. November does.
Yes.
Let me bring up November because November we got Zootopia 2 is coming out. Disney, because Tron failed, so Disney's like, all right, here we go. We're gonna throw out another sequel, but this one being Zootopia 2. Do you think this will be a bigger bet for families?
I would be willing to bet that this will be one of the biggest movies of the year.
Wow.
That those new Disney franchises that launched about 10 years ago, Moana, Zootopia, that's this current generation of kids, their childhood. Those are the movies they grew up on. Zootopia is the first movie that my 2 oldest kids saw in the theater. Like, it's literally a special film for them. And so that's where Moana 2 wasn't even very good, and it made $1 billion.
It wasn't.
And that's the same sort of thing that I expect to happen with Zootopia 2. I mean, hopefully it's better than just mediocre, but it's absolutely going to tap into that, light the box office on fire. So just right there, that movie alone is going to elevate the box office enough to do better than October.
Let me put you on record.
But it's
then.
Not just that movie. We've
you on
also
record.
got Wicked.
Yeah. Do you think Zootopia becomes $1 billion film?
I think that is 100% on the table. If we're doing over under 50%,
over
I
under
haven't seen any
75%,
tracking.
Sean. I don't want this 50% stuff.
If it's at 75%, I would go under that, but I'd go over 50%.
Okay.
That's I'm in that range likelihood that that Zootopia 2 hits $1 billion, but
Let me bring up Wicked.
likewise.
Let's talk about Wicked, because I know the pre-sales for this are off the charts. How does this film do?
So, just as a point of reference, in the United States alone, Wicked made more money at the box office than every movie released in October. So, Wicked alone is going to outgross this October. Now, it did better in the United States than it did globally. So, the determining factor as to whether Wicked 2 will hit $1 billion or not is if the foreign markets catch up with the domestic. And so if you have kind of parallel domestic global for Wicked, it's going to hit $1 billion. But international trailed behind just a little bit. But like I would put my money on Zootopia outgrossing Wicked, but they're both gonna be right there around $1 billion.
Your wife's a huge Wicked fan. Has she already gotten tickets for the film?
Wife and my daughter. So this is like another one of these ones where normally I would take my wife to go see it, or I would take my daughter. They told us in the email about the press screenings that we're not allowed to bring 2 guests. They specifically said that. And so then it's like, all right, I guess they're going to go see it, the 2 of them, and I'm going to take my sister and get brother points for Wicked 2, which I took my sister also last year for this exact same reason. But I don't think they have their tickets yet, but they're absolutely, because they're trying to do like a girls' date with their friends and organize the whole deal. But they absolutely have plans.
That's part of it. You got to make it an event. And now, speaking of events, our next interview.
But that's exactly what you were talking about. There's so many mediocre things, but then this feels like an event that you want to take your friends to. It's like must see.
Yeah.
But then everything else, that just general feeling of wanting to go to the box office is less.
Which is why Tron failed. I actually went and watched the Tron Legacy film last night, and Tron didn't have that event feel. This new one, Ares, doesn't have an event like the first one did, which allowed people to go see it. All right, speaking of events, our next big event is going to happen in our 8 o'clock hour, Fox 58, because you and I are going to talk about Predator Badlands. I have a lot of questions about this, and I know you've seen it, so we'll be talking about it then.
Sounds good.
All right. Sean, thank you so much, my friend.
Talk to you then.